Okay. I think it's working on Facebook.
Hi, everybody. I'm really, really excited to welcome you today. This is a day that I've been waiting for a long time, and I'm sure that our guest of honor has been preparing for quite some time. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment and first of all, give a big shout out to Cindy Kim, who's providing captions for us today. Thank you so much, Cindy. I also want to invite all of you watching on the different platforms to please share your questions with us so that I can channel them and ask Molly here. There should be a chat box in any of the platforms you're watching, so just feel free to type in something. And I also want to let you know, we will not be having a live performance today, but I think you're in for a really killer treat in that we're going to be showing this amazing video that Molly will be talking about shortly. So the song you just heard is Who Are You from the debut full-length album by Molly Joyce. Molly!
Yeah,
like amplified by all the people watching. Okay, I didn't tell you I'm going to do this, but I feel like we need to give a little context to everyone about your distinctions. Graduated from Juilliard on scholastic distinction. You got also a degree from the Royal Conservatory in The Hague, finished out at Yale School of Music with your master's. The awards are way too numerous to look at here, so please go to the website. But what I find really interesting about Molly is that she has collaborated across so many different genres and worked with people of different disciplines. Not only is she a remarkable composer and artist, as you will be able to hear for yourselves, but she's also an advocate. I mean, Molly has done a great TEDx talk. I encourage you to check it out. I think it's somewhat pertinent to what you'll be hearing today. She's been commissioned by tons of orchestras. And just to lead up to what we're going to discuss today, New Sounds writes of this album, a powerful response to something, namely physical disability of any kind, that is still too often stigmatized, but that Joyce has used as a creative prompt. So I think that's really a great place to start, Molly. I'm wondering if you can start by telling us sort of what is the main point that you feel drove you to this material and that you want to express through this album.
Well, thank you so much, Carla. And of course, I want to say thank you so much for hosting this and for all the guests we have joining later. I feel that the main creative impetus when I look back on it, I mean, I feel the album kind of came out of me in a way, is very kind of intuitively led, but I think it was really around a time when in graduate school I was starting to do disability studies for the first time and reading about the social construction of disability and realizing myself that I am disabled in a way. I have an impaired left hand from a car accident about 20 years ago. However, it really took me almost 20 years to identify as disabled. So I feel that following the accident or following those studies within graduate school became really crucial to kind of see where that was coming out in my work, and feel that my work has always been what some of the album represents, with electronics and with very kind of physically motivated work that was kind of happening anyway. And specifically with this album, I was reflecting upon the process of acquiring a disability. Of course, before the car accident, I didn't really feel that I had a disability, wasn't identifying as such. I think with this album, I was trying to think over really what happens, I think, and I love thinking about that forever within my life, kind of personally and artistically, like what happens when physical movement, sensation leaves your body. And that really, I think, came to form with this album.
Well, I think it's incredibly powerful and takes a lot of courage to share your story. I find it very inspiring, as I know it must be for so many of the folks watching today. I'm also curious if you could speak a little bit to the process of the actual creation of the album. I really find it amazing that you've not only composed the music, you're performing on it, you're singing on it, which makes me so happy. And of course, you recorded this, and I want to also talk about all of the places in which this took place. But maybe tell us a little bit about that process and why the toy organ. That's something I think is also really special.
Sure. Yes, I think it began more with the organ in a way. I bought the organ in my undergraduate studies in New York, and I always joke when I first bought it, I kind of saw it as my ticket to Brooklyn, if you will, because it was kind of weird. It was out of tune. It was vintage. I felt like it would be a great accessory to my future Brooklyn parties. And I also bought it on eBay. It was just totally, it's not really made anymore. It's kind of like a toy piano, but there's only these kind of vintage 60s, 70s models around. And I mainly bought it, again, just kind of as a toy accessory. It sat in my dorm room for a while. However, once I kind of reunited with it in graduate school and started writing works for it with electronics in a way, like sampling it acoustically and processing that, I realized that there's much more possibility. I think for a while I really thought that I could only use it playing with other people or with dancers or something, not as kind of a primary outlet. And I think that kind of reflects my journey kind of in relationship to my disability as well too, that I always thought I had to kind of like make up for it, if you will, or try to get back to kind of the so-called normative or regular ability or conform to these instruments that weren't really kind of made for my body. And with the organ, I really love it because it has these chord buttons on the left-hand side and a keyboard part on the right-hand side. So once I started performing on it more, I realized like, wow, it's almost too good to be true in a way. I really felt like it was made for my body, like exactly what my hands can and want to do. Although sometimes I do switch up the hands a little bit, but I felt like it's really just such a natural outlet and kind of started me on this journey of, exploring disability as a creative source, really. And I really thought that, I think initially after graduate school, I knew I wanted to make some sort of toy organ album, or I feel like even just acoustically, the sound of it is amazing, or I could listen to it forever. But it kind of quickly transformed, again, around disability studies and writing kind of lyrics around that, and especially with the TEDx talk. And also big thanks to you, I think, because you encouraged me to start singing, which again, I would have never done, or I always thought, even though it's primarily in my own work, I think, I just thought, I think coming from such a classical background too, I thought like, well, I'm like 20 years behind already or something like that. It's a whole nother, whatever, 10 degrees in front of me. So I think really thanks to you, and especially as a singer, saying that you should sing was very encouraging and really just kind of, I think, let go, if you will, of these, whatever is kind of holding me back or from even trying it.
For those of you guys who don't know the story, Molly was really gracious in giving me a chance to sing some of her music. And, I'm a trained opera singer, so I was like putting in vibrato and trying to make it loud. And I remember working on it, and she had such a clear direction of both line and tone. And when she would, I'd say, well, can you demonstrate? She would demonstrate. I was like, absolutely flawless and gorgeous. And I was like, why aren't you just singing your music? But I think that speaks to a very visceral quality. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the New York Times that said serene power. And I think that really also describes your work so well, because there is this power in the vulnerability that you're showing. And then understanding the context of that is so powerful, even more than the music. And I just think that there's real leadership in what you've done in showing everyone this this very true, real side of who you are, and breaking and entering. So I do want to ask you also, just if you might talk a little bit about the international and crazy unique experience that you've had. If any of that, maybe you can tell everyone a little bit about that, but also if any of that influenced you as you were writing the album and recording.
Sure. So I feel like that whole experience now seems like it was, 10 decades ago or something, with everything going on now. But I was really fortunate to engage in a number of like kind of artist residencies worldwide. I was kind of just trying to see wherever would take myself and my organ, wherever would accept us. And with that, kind of worked on the album along with each place. And yeah, I guess with that, I have a quick slideshow to share.
We love slideshows.
It's like, yeah, trip down my Instagram memory lane. Okay.
Cool.
So it's so funny. I was preparing it this morning. I was like, whoa, I used to have a lot more organs. I want to buy more now.
How many do you have, Molly?
So I guess this picture is 5. I used to have at kind of the peak of my collection, if you will, when I had them. That was when yes, very prosperous time for us. And so I think this was taken right after finishing graduate school. And this is when I was kind of starting to buy more, which I think drove my parents crazy because more and more of them started showing up in my parents' basement. But because again, as they're bought on eBay and they're not made anymore, I always felt like, and once I started performing on it more and realizing I think more of my career was kind of based on it, that you can never have enough, I think, in my opinion. And they're only about usually $60 to $100. And as is, I guess I'll say a little more down the line with the slideshow, but I always need sometimes the parts from one of them, the fan or something. And as you can see in this picture, is the 5 of them. They're all a little different in their own way, which I love. So the one this is my original one, which is bought, I think in my sophomore year in undergraduate studies. And then I don't know the exact order of the rest, but now I have 3 left, I guess, to jump to.
Do you name them? Like, do you have names for them, or is it just organ number 1? And...
I don't like to play favorites, you know. I'm just kidding.
Right. Well, you know.
I try to give them all equal attention. However, I do have to say, I do like the ones with the lights because I think that's very cute. And I believe the lights were originally conceived for, because some of them came with a little music stand you can attach so to shine light on the music. However, it's great for playing. I think I have some pictures in here in dark settings, AKA clubs. And and I love the ones with the stars. So.
I mean, if you're ready to go on the road, I think you
yes.
can play all of them, like a little on one, a little on the other. So cool.
And it's also interesting to note they all have, like for the music nerds, they all have quite a little bit different tuning, like usually by 24 or 48 cents. So usually when I'm with another one, I have to retune my electronic tracks and everything, which is fun, but it's always just a thing to remember. So anyway, so I'll go forward in the timeline. So this is the first residency I did at Willapa Bay Air in Oysterville, Washington, which is on the southwest coast of Washington State in the US. And it's this beautiful kind of remote residency where I believe they have 5 artists at a time, usually of all different disciplines. So I was just very excited. It's the first residency. I think this is my first Instagram post ever. It's a very critical time in my life. And this was on our little balcony of our kind of live work studio.
I mean, it does look very COVID friendly. It's like exactly. Ahead of the times there. Yeah.
It actually was. Yeah, I need to go back, I think, to get some distance. Great. And then this was also in Oysterville. This was wherever I go with the residencies, I try to record a little of just kind of improv of myself. I think this was even before I started singing more. So obviously I have just the mic pointed at the organ, just to kind of a kind of sound check, if you will, of where I am, what I'm feeling. And this was at a little church in the town of Oysterville. And also the town of Oysterville, I guess, is at the end of this peninsula in Southwest Washington. And it's just really beautiful because it's on the bay with the oysters, but then also on the beach. And it's just a really cute and resonant church. My little recording setup. And then going forward, this was actually more of just a performance with the visual artist Leo Castaneda, who did kind of virtual reality projections. And this was in Garnerville, New York. And again, this is pre-singing because there's just 2 mics at the organ, no vocal mic. Mm-hmm. And then also the cards that I use credit cards or hotel cards I didn't do this as much in the album, but sometimes I put them down on the organ keys to hold them down for, infinity or however long you want, which I have to give a huge credit to the percussionist Matt Evans. I saw do that once on a similar vintage organ, and I love that trick so much. And going forward, this was with the TEDx Mid-Atlantic talk. And then this was at a residency in Sausalito, California, near near San Francisco in the Bay Area. And it's on kind of the ocean side of Sausalito. And this is at Headland Center for the Arts. And as you can see, the center is located at this old kind of army fort, if you will, from the US Army. So this is in the old army gym. And I believe Carla visited this one where we practiced.
Oh, that was so great. I love that photo. Yeah. Hey, Molly, we have a question. Do you mind if I interrupt for one second? We have a great question from Jeremy on YouTube. Hey, Jeremy. He says, wow, what a great collection of toy organs. Are they touchy as far as staying in tune or breaking down? And then we have a question after that one as well. So maybe you can answer the first one.
Sure. I'm just going to go back to the organ photo, actually, to remind myself. So if they're touchy, yeah, I will get to that a little later on, actually, because I have one example of when it kind of broke down. I would say, and also, I guess, as a preface to that, when I started traveling, I knew that I usually fit it, I think as Carla, you said, I usually fit it in this kind of body bag suitcase, if you will, and pack it with a lot of usually kind of styrofoam packing around it and towels, which is kind of its soft case. But then I bought this custom made flight case, which is super heavy, but kind of indestructible in a way, to protect it with traveling. And then otherwise, I would say overall, it's fairly durable, I guess, considering their age, and they're not, say, made, I think, for constant traveling. But I am, as anyone who's been around me with them knows, I'm super protective. They're my babies, and I prefer to carry them myself. And yeah, I think, and they're all, yeah, a little different with the tuning. And some people have taught me how to tune them in the inside by kind of shaving the reed slightly. But I'm a little nervous to do that, I think. And I like kind of keeping the inequalities in the tuning, if you will, like the imperfections in them.
Cool. Cool. Okay, one more question. We have a question from Ji Young on YouTube. Hey, Ji Young. Did you record your album with one organ, or did you use the other organs too?
Yes, I reused all of them, I believe, because I was recording it. Recording it with all these, traveling with the residency. So I sometimes would have a different one with me, because I think depending on how far I was going or how long I was going to be in a certain place, I would bring like a nicer one or not as nice one or something, or kind of like what one I wanted to risk the traveling with. So yes, I believe it features all of them, actually, especially because some of the kind of pre-recorded backing electronic tracks were recorded earlier in the compositional process. And then sometimes I recorded the kind of live organ parts more towards the end of the album making.
You included all of them. That's
I'm pretty sure. I don't have like statistical evidence, I guess, for that, but I'm pretty sure they're all included.
That's good, because nobody got left out. Nobody felt.
Yeah, that would not be good.
No problem later. All right.
Great. So just going ahead a little more. Oh yeah, this is in Austria. Krems an der Donau on the Danube, outside Vienna. This is around Christmas time, so we were searching for Santa wherever and whenever we could find him. This is on the balcony, and this is in a church near there. They let me record in just this amazing resonance, of course. This is in Miami for performance, and this is also an interesting time when I opened it up from traveling. This is kind of inside the organ. I forget exactly, but something was buzzing, I think. So I had, I think this was so I think this organ, I think it was on the other side here, that got cracked or something, the side of it, which I think it was already semi-cracked when I bought it, but then the thing actually fell. So it was still standing, kind of the structure, and it wasn't, say, my favorite one. And it's kind of inevitable, I feel like, with traveling and everything. But so I took this amazing picture on the inside, I think, just to get in it a little more, since I'm usually, afraid to open it up.
It's a great shot.
Yeah, and then this is in the Netherlands with the percussionist Joop Skellekens. This was kind of for a separate residency where we worked together for a week. And I do have to note, actually, we worked on this piece called Front and Center, which is a longer piece, but I kind of condensed that for the last track on the album, and have the organ here. And this was in Tilburg, the Netherlands, in an amazing, I believe the place is called Het Cenakel, which of course amazing residents as well. Mhm. And this is at the Watermill Center in Watermill, New York, or on Long Island on the East End. And I was very excited because I think one of my all-time favorite composers is Philip Glass, and of course his seminal work, Einstein on the Beach, which was conceived and directed by the legendary director Robert Wilson, who founded the Watermill Center, which I was so grateful for a residency at. So I was very excited when I kind of found my spot in the center and realized on the other side of the wall was this kind of limited edition, photograph of, I feel like this is such a classic photo of them. I believe that was around the time of Einstein on the Beach. And my organ kind of insisted on a photo near it.
So cool. I feel like they should have diaries, like the diaries of
They only speak in music, unfortunately.
Maybe that's what this album is.
They only speak in the universal language of music. This is again at Watermill, I think pre-performance setup. Oh, this is my favorite dog at Watermill, Lucy. And this is when I started singing a little more, hence the vocal mic. This is actually kind of for a separate recording session, but this is kind of similar. This is for recording session at Juilliard, actually. And then here is actually the organ custom case with all its bumper stickers. And this is in Winterthur, Switzerland, outside of Zurich. Is at Villa Strahli, this amazing residency, and the villa is off to the right here, and this was kind of in the alleyway. This was I think I was there from May to July, so springtime. I wanted to get the contrast of the organ in the alley. This was pre-performance at the club called Worm in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, at the classical. Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm wrong here. This is actually at Les Poissons Rouges in New York a couple of years ago for the New Amsterdam 10th anniversary party.
Cool.
I was really in love with these purple lights, and I guess this was first where I performed some of the album material. That is kind of more rougher form. This is on a canal in Finland, in Turku, Finland, at a residency in Titanic. Or it's the name of an art gallery, Titanic. This is outside of my work cabin in Geneva, Switzerland, at a residency called Embassy of Foreign Artists. So I got outside the cabin. This is also where they had kids' workshops in the sound cabin.
Molly, these pictures are amazing.
It's funny. They're
a coffee book or something to go with the album. They're really incredible.
The Instagram archive.
Yeah. Check out Molly's Instagram, everyone. Check it out.
You want to see them again. This is when I started recording for the album. This is just home in Pittsburgh, I think, or when I started recording the kind of live components, if you will, with one of the organs. And I guess this demonstrates too how the whole album was recorded on an SM58 and just kind of regular dynamic mic for the vocal and organ parts. Which I don't know, I go back and forth. Maybe I should have used nicer equipment, but I really like, I think, the intimate and kind of self-recorded quality it provided. Oh. And this is once we got to China about a year ago. This is with at the Swatch Art Piece Hotel in Shanghai, China, with its amazing view on the Bund.
Wow.
Kind of a very central location of Shanghai on the river, and then also the view of, is it Pudong? I think across the river with this classic view of the Shanghai Tower. Yeah, which is just, of course, an amazing view for the residency. And this is also where I unexpectedly burned out one of the fans of the organ because I thought the wattage, was equal, whatever. So this is exactly why I buy so many. So thankfully, my parents shipped me another fan from one of the other organs, and I was able to, this doesn't show all of it, but the red part there goes off basically, or screws off, and then the fan is underneath. Oh, here's an example of the fan. I can't tell if that's connected. That might have been the one I was replacing or took out. Is my little kid, and I get very, very nervous about going in because I'm not the most whatever handyman, handy woman person.
Basically, you're also an engineer, is
no. I get so nervous, but I had no one else really, or I was like, no, but of course I was in China. There's translation issues, and I'd had thankfully been to this one guy in Connecticut a couple times who's like opened it up for me and kind of fixed little things. So I'd seen it opened up and everything, but it was definitely, I was holding my breath, I think, the whole time. So yeah, but this is it. So I think in process, I'm glad I got one photo. I think I was so stressed out. I didn't want to take a photo, till it was done, but this is it done again. So it's this new fan, vocal mic, and yeah. No, and this is just kind of a cafe performance in China with a lot of red, the favorite color there. And then this is at a outdoor festival performance of some of the album material about a year ago in Troy, New York, as part of the Albany Symphony's American Music Festival. Oh, there's Michael in the back who will be joining us soon as the album engineer. And I believe this is the last one, or this is my current studio at Halcyon Arts Lab in Washington, D.C. With the organ and with another keyboard I was able to use here. So I have them side by side.
Oh, these are really, really fantastic.
Yeah.
If we have any other questions, guys, keep your questions coming. We'll be able to come back to questions shortly. But I want to make sure that we keep things moving here. I could talk to you all day about the photos and also just more about the music on the album, but I know everyone's in for a treat. And I think there's no one better for you to talk to about the music than, of course, Michael. So Michael, I hope that you'll join and you guys can have a conversation about the genesis of the music.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Carla. And congrats, Molly, on the record. So for those of you who don't know, I mixed the album and produced a remix that appears on the record. And I've known Molly for many years at this point, going back quite a while. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here and to help celebrate the record. I have something I can share in a minute, but I don't know, Molly, if you would just want to kick it off with any other questions, or if I should just launch right into that, or.
Sure, I have a question, I think, just retrospectively. What was like maybe the biggest challenge with mixing the album, or is it?
Yeah.
Did it use the best mics, or the organ quality, or my
totally
singing? The list goes on, I'm sure.
No, good question. I mean, let's see, best challenge or biggest challenge. I mean, I guess the fact that, like you said, it was recorded entirely on an SM58 microphone, the voice and the organ. It's really like an amazing feat in a lot of ways. Like, I think it's really cool how the album turned out. From an engineering perspective, that presents like certain challenges in terms of mixing, trying to make it sound like it wasn't just recorded on a single mic. But I've worked on many records like, just like that. And I mean, my own music, I started out, similarly, doing bedroom recording, and so in a lot of ways, that's like kind of where where my heart is. So I appreciate that. And then I guess, just what you're saying about the question earlier about the organs being in tune. I mean, this wasn't necessarily a big challenge, but something unique to the record was just making sure that, the organ parts were still in tune with each other, but also not too in tune, because it's kind of cool to, be just on the edge of being in tune.
Yeah, exactly. Not too much melodyne on them.
Yeah, no, not at all. but yeah, no, I mean, it was, I mean, I guess we also worked on the record over the course of maybe a year or so. I mean, I'm sure you were working on it for much longer before that, but once I got involved, it was kind of like over the course of a year, on and off. And I mean, that was also, you know, I moved into full-time audio engineering like a year or two ago. So, you know, over the course of that year, I've been like learning and evolving as a producer as well. So I guess one of the challenges was just to make it sound cohesive from track to track, you know, so that the first track we worked on back, you know, a year ago still sounds similar to the last ones that we worked on.
Yeah, exactly. Not changing our mind, whatever on the previous mixes.
Right. Yeah. At a certain point, you just have to be done with it. But.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. With that, I'd love to, so I was really fortunate that Michael contributed a kind of interlude remix, if you will, in the album. Because I felt like, the album's all very kind of vocal and organ songs, and I knew that probably it would be helpful to have a kind of break in the middle, if you will. And I kind of tried to write this first myself, and I really just, I think I was kind of just done with the album, or I just felt like it would be good to get a fresher voice on it, especially someone like Michael, who's also active as a composer and musician overall, and really good at remixes especially, and just curious what he would do with the material. So.
Yeah, totally. So should I share my screen now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right.
Ableton.
Yeah. Hopefully this will work with the audio. We tested it out earlier, but if not, just wave at me or yell at me. And so yeah, I was really excited when Molly asked me to make a remix for the album. It was, you know, also kind of a daunting challenge because I love the music on the record so much already that, you know, I didn't want to do anything to kind of take away from that at all. So, yeah, I mean, I think you presented it when you initially asked me to make a remix. You kind of presented it as like, just like you said, like kind of a palette cleanser, interlude in between, you know, because I guess the other tracks in the album are mostly on the longer side, kind of like 6-7 minutes and up to 10, 11, 12. So, you know, I liked the idea of like a shorter little snippet of something just to kind of be like a, and we talked a little about, you know, you gave me some input about, you know, maybe not having it be super beat heavy, something a little more meditative.
No kick drum. Your kick drum, I'm gonna take it out.
Yeah. Give the ears a break.
You all out all the low frequencies, no low.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so like with taking that, I'll jump over to the session here. You know, I guess one unique thing about this is usually when I do a remix, I'm working on an individual track, like, you know, a particular composition or something, but this was somewhere in between a remix and creating something brand new from scratch because, you know, I knew I wanted to use mostly material from the album, from elsewhere on the album. But yeah, you know, at the same time, I wasn't using a particular piece because I didn't want it to sound like, oh, this is a remix of this one track on the record. I wanted to kind of be its own little thing. So with that in mind, my first thought was to kind of use samples and sounds from different tracks. So if we look here at the session, for example, if you can see my mouse, like each of these different colored bars are different tracks of audio. For those of you who haven't seen, this is Ableton Live is the software I'm using here, which is a digital audio workstation like Pro Tools or Logic. And so each of these bars is a different track of audio. And each of them for the most part, come from different tracks on the album. So the first track here is from the song Breaking and Entering, the title track on the album. The second track is from Form and Flee. It's an organ part. There's a drum part here, which it looks like I actually did not use, ended up using, but it was from Who Are You, another track on the album. And here's another organ part from Breaking and Entering. And so I guess like, there's vocal tracks down here from Form and Flee. So they're from all over different parts of the album, which, you know, they're in different keys. They may not necessarily go together. So with that in mind, let's just listen to, it's only like a 3-minute remix. So let's listen to like the last minute and a half or so, and then we'll come back and I can talk a little bit more about the process of it.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, it's fun to listen back to that. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have any in particular questions about the process, or if I should just start talking.
Hey guys, it's me again. As you can see, I have Molly on my screensaver because I'm a huge Molly fan. We do have another question. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure we get this in. It is from Ji Yun on YouTube. She asks, did you say you self-recorded the album? That's amazing. Did you record the album wherever you were in the world?
Yeah, pretty much. I think the live parts, I'm pretty sure most of them I did at my home in Pittsburgh, like in 1 week over the holidays. Or I just want to like, because I think I was hesitant to record the live parts until I really knew what I wanted them to be in a way. But yeah, and thanks to Michael's help, he made it sound like it's recorded in a professional studio. Yeah, and I also wanted to note in the remix, or before I forget, I think the fan sound in the breaking and entering, the top track is the organ fan, which I think is in almost all the tracks on the album, which is usually a process here.
Yeah, I think it is too, which is really cool. I was going to mention that as well. Maybe I'll just solo that, a little bit of that, and play like 5 seconds so people can hear this fan sound.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, was that coming through?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Sorry, that sound was associated with that. I thought it was associated with an organ sample. Interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the thing about, I like took the normal like fan sound that you had, and I like processed it a bunch and put a bunch of effects on it. So there's like a resonator there that's giving it like a weird pitchy quality.
Oh yeah.
and then also the like super fuzzy stuff at the end of the piece that kind of like
Oh yeah.
tickles the eardrums is like that's just some like fuzz effects that come in. I think it's this guy. I don't want to get too nerdy here, but yeah. So yeah, I love that sound though. That fan is sort of this omnipresent like meditative background. And is that just the sound of the organ like being on, like existing, or what?
Yeah, exactly. I forget what, I feel like I've done that in all my pieces now, and I forget what exactly. Well, I think because sometimes it's in the beginning of when I want to start recording, or when the recording starts a few measures before, and I realized I feel like it's kind of like the breath of the organ, obviously, or it's kind of this ambient, it's kind of whatever, setting the mood.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, what's that?
I get a front row seat for the questions here. I'm just kind of curious, like, as you were doing all of this, not in the same room together for most of the time, I guess my first question is, were you guys ever in the same room together? And B, like, how did you communicate? Did you have code names for certain things, or like, because this is a lot of content and a lot of stuff to do remotely. How did you manage that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good question. For the most part, we were remote, but because of Molly's residency schedule, we were usually not. I mean, I'm based in Brooklyn, usually not right now, but that's not Brooklyn out there. But yeah, I mean, we were, what do you think, 4 or 5 times we met up over the course of the year and worked together, Molly?
And usually it's kind of all day sessions in a way, which are like super productive, I think. And so I think it's just more direct in person to go through the options.
For sure.
Once getting it over, and it was our first time working together, I think, and just I think for all of us, a lot of new things. I think for me, like new things with my voice, recording, or this kind of material, and trying to get the inspired sound.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we would do as much as we could remotely, I guess, and yeah, I mean, talking about all of the stems in the file. The stems are like the different sounds in the files that Molly sent. They all had different names, and they were very specific. You can probably see just in my session here, there's like organ elect B live, and so Molly would name these stems and send them to me, and I would have, this is actually this is the smallest session by far of everything that we worked on, and most of the tracks had like 40 to 50 different tracks, I would say, and they all had names like that, like organ elect A, organ elect B live, and they're all totally different. So luckily Molly was very good at communicating and knew exactly like what she wanted, and could kind of, it made it easier to work remotely, and then we would get together in person and kind of iron out the last round of details.
Control freak.
As you should be. It's your record,
And I think also just to note, I think a lot of there's so many tracks usually just because I just went very maximalist kind of on this album and the material, but also a lot of the live organ and voice parts are doubled with MIDI samples from usually Sibelius, my Sibelius software. Mm-hmm. So they're all doubled, in a way. So that's why there's so many, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to think about just on the technology side of things, like how many different pieces of software you wrote it in Sibelius, you're using some Sibelius sounds, and then you were working in Logic doing the production, and then you sent it to me, and then we did it in Ableton Live.
Oh yeah. Now we're on Zoom.
Exactly.
True millennial album.
Well, I really love the sequence that this conversation has taken, because I feel like it is leading right up to the next step. And Molly, I don't know if maybe it's the time to bring Kevin on and sort of talk about the big show that we're going to all get to see.
Yay. Hi, Kevin.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
So Kevin is from 410 Media, an amazing kind of film production company with Kevin and also the amazing filmmaker, percussionist Evan Chapman, who I've been incredibly fortunate to work with, excuse me, with, I feel like for the past almost 5 years now.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's been like 10 videos now or something.
I know, yeah, it's been great.
No, and I feel so fortunate to always give them, whatever, my wildest ideas, and go with it and go from there.
Yeah. I think it's basically, I mean, we kind of started 410 like 5 years ago, and I feel like kind of from the jump, it was like working with you, which was awesome. And it's just continued like every year. We're just like, yep, this will be great. This is awesome. So,
I know. I always
and just in general, congrats on the record, and just we always love to be able to work with your music and see what we can create together.
Oh, thank you. And so with this one, of course I knew I wanted to do a video with you guys for something on the album, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I think my favorite track is the Form and Flea one, and I knew that, or I wanted to do an excerpt or maybe the full one from that. Just my hands. I've been doing some other videos exploring the interactions between my two hands and really zeroing in on that, like getting rid of the organ, getting rid of the rest of my body. So what did you, I'm curious what you thought. I think I discussed a little bit this by email before.
Yeah. I remember when you first kind of reached out, you sent just like a WeTransfer link to just, something that you had filmed. I think it was like looking up at the sun or something, and it was the interaction of your hands kind of going through it. And the choreography was so, I remember watching it, and it was only like 1 minute and 10 seconds long. I think it was like really short. I remember watching it and being like transfixed. I was like, wow. I was like, this is something about it. The choreography and everything that was happening was just really, really arresting. And so, we kind of, as we talked through things, we knew we wanted that to be kind of the center of it, and how we could kind of work with that. And I can't remember if that's from the jump, we knew we wanted to be in black and white. I can't remember if that was the case. We ended up in black and white, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I had that because I think I had been doing some videos in color and stuff. And I knew I'm also a very big fan of black and white for the aesthetic reasons and also accessibility purposes, or just get rid of all these, I feel like, barrier, just really zeroing in on the actual content, if that makes sense. It has nothing to do with it in a way. That's kind of that's what I thought. And so I think we filmed, we had just like it was like a half day in the studio, in our studio in Philly, and we did some stuff with when we saw you actually sing, and then I think just to have it, and we kind of realized, like once we started, we were like, I think this, just focusing on the hands, and as we were filming it, I think we all we thought it was we knew it was gonna look super cool, but then it kind of took on this other almost like cosmic feeling. Just of like, watching, because we just kind of soft lit it, and then had some with the hard light from the back, and so and being so close to your hands and to your arms, and like just getting really up on there, it really felt it just felt like a lunar landscape or something, until you could really understand what we were looking at. It was really engaging to kind of watch happen. No, and I of course really appreciate you guys. I have to say too, I feel like you're so flexible. Just me trying anything. I feel like it's always, especially with my hands, or it's always, I think an experiment will happen, especially with interaction with the light. And I think some shots in the video, which you'll see, I was right in front of the camera too. I was just trying to control everything, or just the control freak that I am. But
no, that ended up like working out perfectly. I mean, you had like when we first started, you had that one shot where you were like, I know I wanted to just run down the arm, and just like and kind of going like really long, slow kind of movements. And so, just putting you right behind the camera, and just like this was it was like the best way to do it. And doing all those experiments and trying all those different things, I mean, that's what led us to where we needed to be. So it was wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. And I also want to note that it's all coming back to me now. I think I was trying to get, I don't know if the audience totally gets this, but the feeling that the arms like are your arms in a way, like coming from just this kind of displacement, if you will. which hopefully you get a little bit. I don't know if that's totally possible without, say, virtual reality and all of that. But so yeah.
But the process was really great, and yeah, just editing it all together and getting us to where we are now. But yeah, the music was like, we heard the track and we were like, of course, yeah, this will be awesome. Like, the track's so great, so we were like, we'll make this work. This isn't good stuff.
No, thank you.
So yeah.
Yeah, with that, well, I want to give a huge thanks to you, of course, for working on it, and Kevin Chapman. And yeah, I guess with that, we'll share it.
Let's do it.
And give a huge thanks to iCare if you listened originally premiered this. And yeah, here we go. Yeah. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry. I wasn't even sure if we should come back after that.
Yeah.
It's really powerful to see your work, Molly, and to learn about it from your experiences, you know, what inspired you to compose it, and all of these elements that you shared also about the work with Michael. I don't know that we've gotten any other questions. If we do have questions, please send them in right now. Otherwise, I wanted to give another shout out to Cindy Kim. Thank you so much, Cindy. And I know you mentioned all of the residencies where this amazing work took place, and I'm sure, you know, gratitude is in place for them as well. But more than anything, just as your friend, I want to say thank you for inspiring me. So many people, I'm sure, who are watching, and congratulations on this incredible work, Molly. It's really powerful and hopefully just the beginning.
No, thank you. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. Yay.
So I think with that, let's go out and celebrate. Get the album, check Molly out on her website, follow her on Instagram. Kevin also, and Michael. I'm sure there's going to be some details. Oh, we do have one more question. Can you talk a little about the physical performance of the work you are dipping into?
Oh, sure. With the album, I guess, or more, or
I think so. That's all I've got to go on, but yeah.
Sure. Well, the album, a lot of times with my hands and the organ, I will have kind of prompts like I want my hands to switch places or something, and the album is a little different. That's very, I think, driven by the lyrics and my singing and that. But I do feel that my performances are very kind of physically motivated in a way with my hands. And this has kind of progressed more recently to videos, such as the one we just shared and the interaction with them, as well as like some dance work with the disabled dancer, Jerron Herman, who I really love working with and exploring, our interactions of our disabilities with each other. And it's still something I think very much at the beginning for me, but hope to keep exploring.
I hope you do too. I think we all do. And just looking forward to the next. Guys, seriously, if you're tuned in, check out the whole album. It's incredible. I hope that, I'm sure you'll be posting things on social media. Molly, do you want to just give everyone your Instagram handle right now?
Sure. It's just molly.joyce.
Sounds simple enough. We should all take note of that. And any last words?
No, just thank you, Carla, so much, and Kevin and Michael, and everyone at New Amsterdam Records, and everyone for tuning in.
It's been really awesome, Molly. Congratulations.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Lots of applause, and let's go out and celebrate.
Yeah, thank you.